serve and protect. Criminals try to earn their respect. Commandos strike when opposition is a threat to our seas. Govern the country against foreign enemies. First episode was the cop and the criminal. Now we got commandos like 5-star generals. Come to share their war stories from the streets to the pen all the way to overseas. Band of brothers on 3 separate paths. Bring them all
right.
together. Now we got a
Back in your life for episode number 6. Coming at you, week number 6. I can't believe we're here already. Having a lot of fun, dude. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having loads of fun. You can tell by my funny singing. I got a call from The Voice, and they're like, dude, we want you to come on our show. And I was like, I can't do that right now because I'm just so busy, but maybe one of these days, because I'm the best singer in the world. All right, let's kick this thing off, man. To get, to be a little serious. I've had several people reach out this week, and they're talking about they're struggling with addiction, and they're reaching out to me, and we've been talking, and I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm here for you. If you want to talk to me, you can reach me on Facebook or znation111@gmail.com, zeenation111@gmail.com. I'm here for you, man. If you need to talk, you're not alone. So anybody struggling with addiction or anything like that, or just struggling with depression, I'm here for you. Don't be afraid to reach out. I'll respond to everybody that I can. So, and I'm happy that this show is creating an outlet for people like that. So, and for all of you guys, and we're getting participation. We're having fun. I love the community that we're creating. So let's keep pumping, baby. Let's keep pumping. Let's do this. All right. We got a story submission for Stories from the Alley. So let's kick right into it. Stories from the Alley. This story's from Dawn Lander. She's a team supervisor, Region 2 for probation and parole. And she sent me this story, and I got to put this one out there because it's a pretty funny one. Okay, Dawn writes in and says, and by the way, before I start this, if you even want to submit a video to me in the email or anywhere, just submit a video for your story, I will put the actual video in the podcast as well, and that would be a fun way to get your story in. So video, you can write me, you can message me on Facebook, anywhere, or you can email me at the email that I've told you 14 million times. And you can, like I said, you can send a video in, and that would be perfect. So, and I'll actually put the video itself, and I'll edit it into the podcast, and we'll have loads of fun that way. All right, Stories from the Alley. Dawn Lander, she said, I've been in probation and parole for 15 years. My all-time favorite story I will never forget, she says. I was still an officer at the time. My office was at Hobart PD. One of my offenders came into the office for his scheduled appointments. Part of our job is to do random urine tests on our offenders. Due to me being a female officer and my offender being a male officer, her offender was being a male, I could not go into the bathroom with him to observe. My offender was acting wormy and couldn't stay still in the office, and he stated he really needed to go. He said, well, I really need to go if you're going to piss me. I usually let them go unobserved, but this time she had a feeling that something was off. So she asked the chief, who, she was in Hobart PD, so she asked the chief at the time to go in there with him. Well, so she was standing by the door as the chief went in there with this guy, and she was standing by the door, and the chief comes out with the guy, and this guy had something called, the chief had this thing called a Whizzinator in his hand, which it looks like a penis. I think it goes over your penis, and then you can put fake urine in the bag and then squeeze it, and then it comes out. Well, what was funny was, first of all, the chief come out, and Dawn says that his face, you could just tell his face was like, she said she'd never forget the look on his face when he came out, and he looked horrified because this was a black male who had a white Whizzinator. So that is hilarious. That's one way to get caught. We need to Google to see if they make black Whizzinators, because that's the best way to get caught right there. So, all right, funny story. Thank you for the story, Dawn. And like I said, send me those stories in. Send me videos. We'll put them on here. Okay. Now we're on to Katya. Katya being good. All right. This one's pretty cool. Florida police officers being praised for helping a resident after he spotted the man riding a bike with only one functioning tire. Jacksonville police officer Terrence Hightower. Why does that sound like a cop's name? Like, if your last name's Hightower, you're a cop for sure, right? Like, there's nothing else you should be doing. If your name's Hightower, you're a cop. Anyway, Jacksonville police officer Terrence Hightower was patrolling a neighborhood when he spotted the man riding along the street, the department wrote on Facebook Tuesday morning. The man had only one tire in the front with rubber completely stripped away in the back. So yeah, it shows a video here. I can't show the video on YouTube, but there's a video here of the guy riding the bike, and there's literally no tire on the back. It's just a rim. And he's moving though. He is scooting along. It says that Officer Hightower, Officer Hightower, out of his own pocket, went and fixed the guy's bike for him. So, and notice in all these stories that I'm putting in here that the cop's paying for all this stuff out of his own pocket, man. In this world right now, especially, we're talking about all these bad cops and stuff like that, but these cops don't make a whole lot of money, and they're paying for this stuff out of their pocket. So, and I'm going to highlight that every week. I'm going to highlight a good story. By the way, I mean, could I have picked a worse time to start a pro law enforcement based podcast? I mean, we've got other aspects too. Just like today, we're having a reformed criminal on. So, you know, we have other aspects too, but you know, we have been law enforcement heavy, and I don't care, man. I'm going to keep going. I know I couldn't have picked a worse time, you know, but all the love and support will help. If you guys want to help me out with this, because I'm going to keep going. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if the world hates cops right now. I love you guys, and I love all of you. I love you reformed criminals. I love you military people out there. We're going to make a positive atmosphere for all this stuff. So, but I need your help. I need your support. I need your support to do this. So tell a friend. When you see me post stuff on Facebook, share it. Share the video on YouTube. Share the audio only. Help me get the word out there to people so we can keep going, you know. I need your help. It's a free way to help. I appreciate that. And in the future, we're going to be doing giveaways for shirts and stuff like that. So your help will be greatly appreciated. And I'm going to need it more than ever, that's for sure, because like I said, I'm sure I'm going to be getting a lot of hate from people for doing this, but I am not stopping, and that's a guarantee. So Officer Hightower, just wanted to tell you, we here at Cops, Criminals, Commandos, we got you. Got you being good. All right, so let's move on to our interview today. We have a guy named James Parrish coming on. He spent close to 13 years, I believe he said, in the penitentiary for aggravated manslaughter. And he got his shit together, and he wants to come on and tell his story. So we're going to be a platform for him to do that. All these inspiring stories of people that's been in the heart of bad and stuff like that, and then they dug themselves out. That's just such good stories for me. So let's get to it, everybody. So thank you for joining. Make sure to watch till the end of the episode. And here's our interview with James Parrish.
Cops, criminals, commandos.
Hey, James, thanks for joining us, man. I appreciate you joining. And I told everybody else this, but we're all, my audience and myself, we're getting to know you together. So you just sent me a little bit of your history, but you did 12 years in prison for aggravated manslaughter?
Yes.
What's the
Go ahead.
What's the story behind that?
It's a big story. So we to properly give it justice. In 1992, 3, 4, I used to hustle. You know, I was on the streets making money, and you know, you get regular beefs.
Yeah.
And me and my co-defendants, We had some problems with some other people shooting at us, and we went back and shot at them. And in the course of us fleeing, and the police was right behind us the whole time, I was coming to an intersection. I went through the green light. A car tried to come out and try to stop us for the police, and I ran into the car. Unfortunately, the guy that was driving passed. The passenger didn't pass, and they subsequently caught me and charged me.
Yeah. Okay. So it was so you hit. So I understand probably you hit a guy with a car.
No, I hit his car with my car. We had an accident.
Oh, an accident. And so so these people that you hit weren't involved in the anything?
No, I guess they kind of got themselves involved because they ran the red light to try and stop us for the police.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was a 19-year-old kid and with a minivan with bad brakes, and it was a bad look.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to justify my actions at all. It took me a minute to actually get over those demons.
I think we naturally do that. I do that too. Like that there's some things that I've done in my life that caused some pain for me. And I still, even though I know it was 100% my fault, like I still find myself trying to justify the things I've done. Fact. You know, it's just, I think that's just human nature. You try to deal with it, but that was in the 90s. So that was, you know, what, 20 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
05, 15, 25 years ago.
Yeah, I've been home 12.
You've been home for 12?
Yeah.
What do you do for a living now?
Well, I done blew my knee out. I was working at a pharmaceutical company. Like I finally was able to get into a actual job.
Yeah.
And this happened in 2018. I've been in other jobs before, but sometimes the stigma of being an ex-con has, like, I'll be in a temp agency, and then when they say they're ready to hire, they'll come with we want to hire you, but corporate says this, or we want to hire you, but this here is blocking that. We can't hire you with this charge. And then they came out with ban the box in New Jersey, where they're not even supposed to ask you if you're ex-con on the first interview.
Yeah.
And I found that to be absolutely worth nothing because it still didn't matter. They still was doing it, and it didn't matter. It didn't really help much. It helped some companies relax, but for the most part, it didn't help much. Then I started a group called Ex-Cons Matter, and what we do is we'll go into companies and we go to, like, you know how they have the group hiring situations.
Yeah.
Where everybody come in and you bring 10 resumes and you pass them out. So we'll all wear Ex-Cons Matter shirts because I make Ex-Cons Matter shirts. So we'll all wear Ex-Con Matter shirts. I'm putting it out there right now. This is what happened to me. Is you gonna hire me or not? You know, that we come straight at I've done it. We only done it like twice because I just started it right before we got locked down in March. So I did it like once or twice this year. We went to 2 of the hiring events from the One Stop. And, you know, it was like 3-4 of us, and we all got the same shirts on. And it kind of threw companies back a bit, but at the current climate of reform and people starting to understand that America got 1/4 of the whole world's prison population here. 1 out of every 4 prisoner in the world is here. You know, they're starting to understand that, and they're starting to understand the disproportions between the Black community and the white community, and how many people is getting locked up and how this is happening. The information is coming out probably because of the use of the cameras, social media. It's a double-edged sword because some other information is coming out that ain't correct, and then it's, you know, you got to weed through and find what's right.
Yeah. Well, did you know Oklahoma? My buddy was telling me Oklahoma holds the highest per capita prison population in the world, and it's mainly for drugs. And I don't know if you know that about me, but I'm an ex-police officer.
Okay.
And I joined. Yeah, I joined your group because I'm having trouble. You know, it's hard for people like ex-cons and stuff like that because I wanted to give a platform to ex-cons on this podcast because some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. Some of my best friends, my best friends in the world are ex-cons, people I've arrested. And they're some of the most loyal people. I mean, I've had cops stab me in the back more times than I've had my best friends that are ex-cons, you know. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of cop friends that I still love very much. And I have a lot of friends that are ex-cons. And I found your group, and then you hopped right on here, man. And I think you're doing the right thing. I think you're doing the right thing. It's just getting it out there, because, like, okay, in the 12 years that you've been out, have you gotten in trouble one time?
Nah, I came home 2007. In 2009, I caught it's kind of a bogus DUI. Like, I'm really upset about it because it really derailed where I was going from when I came home. It was Labor Day. It was Labor Day weekend, Labor Day night. I was coming from a party going to my girlfriend's house, who's currently my fiance. And I was traveling from Plainfield, which is a black community, to Rawley, which is a mixed community. Yeah. But you gotta go through Scotch Plains. And Scotch Plains, if you ask anybody that's in Jersey, they don't drive through there at night. But I missed my turn, ended up coming down Martine Ave. They had a checkpoint set up.
Oh, why don't you drive through there? Because the cop presence?
Yeah. It seems like they always trying to find a quota. That's what it seems like. They're always trying to meet the quota. And I think sometimes they're valid stops, but sometimes they go too far on things like I've seen people get pulled over for the air freshener hanging on the visor. That's like the weirdest thing. And then it escalates into some other bull because they looking for something.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna lose a lot of my law enforcement buddies by saying this, but I just personally think, man, maybe not like heroin and all the bad drugs like that, but I'm starting to think that we need to let people out of jail for drugs, man. Like, I feel like we're arresting too many people for drugs. And as a cop, whenever I arrested somebody for drugs, I always had to put a victim on the report, right?
Yeah.
And the victim said state of Oklahoma on it. And I always hated that, because I think we should be working crimes where the victim is a person. You see what I'm saying? Like, how can the state of Oklahoma be a victim of a crime? There's nobody. And don't get me wrong, there's families and stuff like that that's getting hurt from it. I just feel like by us arresting people, then that's not really gonna solve the problem. And I think it's proof that it hasn't solved the problem, because everybody's still doing it. You know what I mean? So
I believe it's because the whole war on drugs pretty much started as a money grab in the first place.
Yeah.
It was a money grab in the first place, from when Nixon first announced the war on drugs. And then it comes down to Reagan, and Reagan wanted to go after drugs. And then you had the whole Iran-Contra, where they had the CIA putting drugs in certain communities so they can fuel the war. It's a lot of things. And it was like, if you look at history, in the 70s and 60s, because before drugs, they had to break the black family, because in the 70s and 60s, our families was intact about 70 to 80%. Black families were intact. When they brought the welfare situation in, that kind of promoted a feminism type of thing where you don't need the father, because the father in the house, you're not going to get these benefits. And you don't need the father. So it started breaking up there. It started busting our communities up there. And then when they started dumping the guns and the drugs, because let's face it, we don't have gun shots mostly in black communities. It's not gun shots. And then there's nobody with poppy fields in the black community. It's like it's coming from somewhere. Yeah. So after we started getting that, and you dealing with a group of people that's already having a problem securing jobs, but we making do with what we had. Like I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so I was directly involved in these things.
How old are you?
I'm 45.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's horseshit, man. Why do you look like my age at 45?
12 years.
Damn. Yeah, I'm glad you said something about that, because this has been on my mind lately, and I kind of wanted to be I wanted to tell police officers this, because when I first started being a cop, when I first started being a cop, I was 21. I was young. And whenever I would go, because just like you said, in the city streets where I was patrolling, the black community and the white community were completely separated.
Yes.
You know, there was some mixed in there, some places, but the black community was over here and then the white community was over here. And anytime that I would have to go into the black community, I was instantly hated. And I didn't know why. I was like, why?
Oklahoma got that history.
Yeah, I was like, why? I was like, these people don't even know me. Why did they hate me? And then after many, many years of me earning their respect, I gained the respect of the black community. It's because they knew I was going to be fair. They knew I was going to be fair.
Definitely a possibility in most instances is like, all right, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what I teach my boys is when an officer pull you over, like I like to ride around with tents. No, they're illegal, but you know, it's $45 ticket. Let me get my ticket and go. I like tents. But when an officer come up, I try to roll down all my windows and try to de-escalate the situation.
Yep.
Because I know at the time I was driving a black Cadillac with all black tents. I know they're gonna come worrying about their safety, but I'm still worrying about my safety and my boy's safety.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? So that's how it starts. And then sometimes you got a cop got to go throw his hand on the gun instantly. So if I roll down my windows, hopefully you're not doing that. Sometimes it don't come to that. Sometimes they come. And it's not necessarily if it's racially motivated, it might be self-preservation motivated because of the climate. Now, in the 80s and 90s, yeah, a lot of times it was racially motivated because there wasn't a lot of knowledge out there.
And
there wasn't a lot of knowledge out there about it. Now I see a lot of people coming to grips because of the information that's out there. And in my particular instance, I teach my boys to try and de-escalate it. But know your rights. Understand you have certain rights. You don't have to say anything to them. Just let them go and do what they're going to do. If they're going to give you a ticket, they're going to give you a ticket. Just don't say anything.
Yep.
Or if they do present themselves as if they just want to give you a ticket and go and not going to ask you for illegal searches or anything like that, then, you know, roll with them, be polite, and try and get out of it. However, sometimes the banter start to get up, and then egos start to get up, and then some cops will be like, well, I'm the enforcer here. You got to respect this situation. The citizen is like, well, I'm a taxpayer. You got to respect my situation.
Yep.
That's how it bangs head.
It's pride. It's ego. It's ego.
It is.
Ego's killing people, man. Ego's killing people. I hate it, man, because I had a huge heart for everybody, man. And I never wanted to kill anybody. And luckily I didn't. And I realized, and you know, for the first like majority of my career, I didn't know why I had to earn the black community's trust. But then I watched a documentary of how the black community was treated by police in the 80s and the 90s, because I was just a kid then. I didn't see it. You see what I'm saying? But I watched it, and I realized that our parents, my parents were the ones, not my parents specifically, but I'm saying my parents' generation was treating the black community like shit. And I didn't realize how soon ago that was. So it's not your fault. It's not my fault that the racial tension between police, but it is our parents' fault. And so I think as cops, we owe it to the black community to strive to earn their trust. I believe that 100%.
I remember just 20 years before the 80s, it was actually legal to discriminate against us. That was the common practice. So therefore, your parents was brought up in a Jim Crow age, or an age where it was actually legal on the books to discriminate. This was common practice. So that has to be broken down systematically over the years. I mean, there's been progress, but you know, as long as you have things like the blue line, Not talking about the death blue line. I'm talking about not the blue line, the blue wall. The blue wall. That cops have to, the same way they want civilians to see something, say, if you see something, say something, the police have to do the same thing.
Exactly.
Not worried about the retribution that they're going to get from their fellow officers or whatever. And I think that may come into play from the Floyd situation.
Oh yeah, I think so. I told
play. That might be one of the things that turn it around.
Yes.
To get people to at least get the conversation going.
I had an assistant chief in a town here in Oklahoma last week. I had her on last week, and in that episode we talked about that. We talked about that the thin blue line. I do think we need to stick together, and I think we need to have each other's backs. But if a guy does something like that guy did to Floyd, that's not us breaking the thin blue line. That's him stepping out of it. That's him stepping out of it. So we don't have to look at it like we're being unloyal or we're stepping out of the blue line, because if a cop decides that he is going to act like that, he is stepping out of the blue line. It's not us throwing him under the bus. We have to be able to talk about that, because that guy, this Derek Chauvin guy, was a terrible human being, and he shouldn't have been a cop long before he did that to Derek Chauvin, long before that, because he had a track record of that. And I'm telling you from experience, where there's smoke, there is fire with bad cops like that. And I've seen cops before where they should have never made it out of the field training program. They should have never been given a badge, but because of money, and they didn't want to spend that money on hiring somebody else and spending thousands of dollars to sending them to the academy, they put them out on the streets because of money. And
that's where the reform come in. That's where the reform. All right. Are you familiar with Camden, New Jersey?
Camden? No.
Well, they was the murder capital of the U.S. for X amount of years in the 80s and 90s. That was like ground central for murder. Between Camden and Washington, D.C.
Just murder in general, or like police?
Murder.
Oh, just murder. Okay.
People murder.
Okay.
So this was basically one of the worst neighborhoods in New Jersey, Camden. It's like right across the bridge from Philly. You cross the bridge right in Philadelphia.
Okay.
So Camden, New Jersey, in I believe 2016. Don't quote me on that, but I believe in 2000. My dog getting antsy. Another dog passed. And I believe in 2016, they actually did defund the police officers. However, people are getting mixed up with the defunding, and they saying that people asking for debanding. They asking for the defunding, but at first I was trying to figure out what it was, so I looked into the Camden thing. Hold up, bro. I'm on a call. I'm gonna call you. I'll meet you in a minute. So what was going on was they took the police officers. I think they made them all retrain. Some of them making some of them back. So they dropped the force down some, and they took some of the money that they was using for military vehicles and SWAT and all of that, and they put it into community centers and things in the neighborhood to build the community up, business programs and things like that. And right now, Camden has cut their crime rate down significantly. They have, and their police force is bigger than it was before now. And just now, when they had the march in Camden, when they protested a couple of days ago, they had no incidents of violence. Well, not many. I don't know if it was any, but I know it wasn't many incidents of violence. And the police actually marched with the civilians.
Yeah, I think there used to be this thing. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was an academy to where the citizens could come to the academy, and they would go to the academy with the police officers. So what that would do was everybody would learn together about what the police officer's job is. And then not to mention, it would get the public the opportunity to get to know the police officers one-on-one. And then that way everybody could be on the same page. We've got it. Like, you're right. The police we need police. We don't need to defund the police, but there definitely needs to be some reallocation of funds to training, because we have to not be scared to lose money. If you hire a guy and he doesn't work out, we need to cut him loose and just count that as a loss on the charge instead of letting him stay on the force for 15 years and prove that this guy's a dickhead, to excuse my language, but this guy is not doing the right thing, and he's making all of my brothers in blue look bad. You see what I'm saying? And he's causing this. And guess what, dude? Like, I used to be a chief of police. I didn't know if I mentioned that, but I used to be a chief of police, and I was sitting here thinking, I don't want the riots to go on. I don't want the looting to go on and stuff like that. But if I was chief of police of Minneapolis and one of my officers did that, like that officer did to George Floyd, and the people came knocking on my police department's door wanting to burn it down, I have two options. I either go out there and defend my police department and hurt more people, or I let them burn it down. And dude, I'm not going to hurt any more people. I'm going to let them burn it down. You know, I have to, because what am I going to do? They have the right to burn it down now. They have a right to.
That's kind of our history in this country with civil unrest, going back to the Tea Party.
Yep.
They burned stuff down and stuff got changed.
Yep. I think, dude, not condoning
them burning personal businesses down, like some of the smaller businesses. That's kind of reckless because they don't have that insurance that, say, Walmart and Target have.
Yeah, exactly. We shouldn't be doing that because we don't know those people. I saw this. I'm on TikTok. I probably shouldn't be, but I watched this TikTok where this guy went into his business and he was like screaming out of like anger, and not anger, but like you could tell he was just distraught because his business got burnt down. And I was like, oh man, like you see both sides of it though, and you don't. I definitely don't have the answers. I don't want to say I have the answers, but I think love is one of them. I think we've all got to love each other, man. And
conversations like this, that's another one.
Yeah, we have to.
We got to get back to being able. Well, I don't know if it's back to, but we have to be able to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I don't hate you because we have different views. You know, like that's what's going on now. And that's where the black community comes with the Trump divide.
Yeah.
Because let's just say he don't understand that he's doing this when he do some of these rallies, that he's dividing people like that and he's fueling the base like that. And it's like he's done some things that worked out a bit, yes. But some things you just throwing more fire on it. And it's like it looks like his administration not on the same page, but a lot of them are scared of what happened. That's why his cabinet keep like getting shrunken every other day. I'm not a Democrat nor a Republican. I look at both of them like they're gang members. They like the Bloods and the Crips to me. Like same. To me, they got the same colors and everything. Like they.
Oh yeah, no shit. Yeah, for sure.
It's like if you're not with us, you against this type thing that is killing the country.
Yeah, that's
you don't even understand that Democrats and the Republicans flip-flop. Their ideologies flip-flop at one point in time in history. The Democrats wasn't Republicans until they went over there and said, we're gonna come here. Like people don't understand, like a lot of people miss history. A lot of history is kind of miscued, so you gotta dig. You gotta dig to really get the information. Like in the South, some of the books was having that the Civil War was won by the Confederacy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen textbooks that actually stated it. They're not there no more, but this is how we was talking about the other people that was getting brought up. This is how they was brought up. And my family is from the South. My father's from Georgia, my mother's from Virginia. So I used to spend time in the South in the summertime. So I know like certain, like when we used to go out, certain situations where you go, is like you gotta watch yourself around here because something might happen to you.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Now, up north, like you said, we pretty much got predominantly black communities. This community is black. Like, I haven't been called the N-word by a white person until I went to prison. And it wasn't until I went to South Jersey in prisons, because South Jersey prisons are very racist.
What, the UAB call you in prison?
Huh?
UAB called you in prison?
UAB.
The Aryan Brotherhood?
Nah, not in Jersey heavy. Because it's too many black people in there for them to be doing that. Yeah, now I know out west, yeah, they heavy out there because they got a higher white prison population actually.
Yeah,
because prison is big money. People don't understand it. This is about money. It's about when the 13th Amendment was put in together. When they put the 13th Amendment together, they put a little clause in there that said, yeah, y'all free unless you go back to jail. If you go to jail, then we're going to get that cheap labor out of you. Put it like this. I made 23 cents an hour for 5 years in prison, doing some hard work, making license plates and such. Like stuff that goes straight to the DMV. Yeah. But if they'd have to put it out on the street to somebody, they'd have paid that man $15 an hour. Yeah. You know? And I was working in a bakery for 88 cents an hour, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's like, so they got an incentive to lock people up. And the easier way to do it is to drop the guns. Now, at this point in time, they don't have to do it because they already got it in us to go ahead and, you know, like when I started selling drugs, my parents gave me what I needed. However, my wants and my needs, I didn't understand the difference. And I see this guy driving down the street with a yellow Audi that's dope and the rims banging and everything. This is what I want.
Yep.
But I know my parents can't provide it. But I'm seeing these dudes out here slinging this crack and they getting this money. And I'm like, I need in on this.
How old were you when you started selling drugs?
I started selling about 16.
16, damn. Yeah.
Like at the time,
but it was there. It was there. Like I know I turned into a cop. I know I turned into a cop, but I can't say for certain that if I saw the same things that you saw and wanted the same things that you wanted, that I wouldn't have. You see what I'm saying? Like, we're all a product of our environment, man. That's why I wanted to create this podcast and have ex-cons and stuff like that on there, because we all have, like, there's nobody better than the other person, man. We're all criminals, dude. We're all cops. We're all on the same path, dude, trying to get through the same things. And I can't sit there and brag or say I'm a better person than you because my circumstances were different. You know what I mean? And if I would have saw a yellow Audi and that guy's like, oh, I sell drugs and this is how you do it, I'd have been like, let's go. You know what I mean?
Is back then, a lot of the reason why it took me till I was 16 to actually sell drugs, because a lot of the drug dealers would tell me, nah, stay your butt in school. You get good grades. What are you doing? You can get out of here. They was definitely pushing me away until I got a couple of dollars enough to go to New York and get my own stuff.
Oh, so you did it yourself. You aspired to do it.
I mean, it was that much money out there. I was on a block where it'd be 1,000. Let's say like this, it'd be 30 people out there taking turns for each cell that's coming. White folks coming, black folks coming. The white folks spend the most money because they coming and they not trying to come back and forth. And if you understand the mechanics of crack is once you take the first hit, that is the highest you're going to ever be in your life. And then you're going to chase it from now on. You're going to keep chasing it. So if you got the resources to supply it, you want, they'll come and buy $1,000 worth of crack at one time, and then just go back to the communities and smoke out until it's gone.
Four out of 9 people get, isn't this true? I think I remember reading this. 4 out of 9 people get addicted to crack the first time they try it.
I think it might be more than that.
Really?
Depending on your situation. Like if you got a good job and you already living in a decent situation and you try crack, then you have something to weigh it against.
Yeah.
If you're living in poverty and stuff, you're not going to give up that high.
Yeah, if you're already down, then like you have nothing to go back to. Yeah, you're right, dude.
And remember the crime bill that came out with the Clintons. When the crime bill came out, that locked up all the drug dealers. Like now, they more or less putting people in treatment centers because of the opiate problem, which is hitting your community now. So now it's a lot more compassionate for them. Yep. They put people in communities and stuff like that because they understand what happened to us when they started locking up all the fathers. So now you got the single mom raising these kids, and that's like the thing now. The single mom. Like when I grew up, most people had parents in the home. It was like divorce wasn't a black folk thing. We didn't do that. For one, we ain't had the money to do it. It was cheaper to keep her. and for two, morally, your family would disown you with some things like that. Like
now it's normal.
Yeah, now it's so normal. It's bananas. And the thing is, when they taking the black fathers out of the communities and stuff, or all the drug dealers out of the communities, They leaving the kids to get raised by crackheads.
Yep. Yeah,
Who raising the kids?
And I hate to say it like this. Well, maybe it's different in the black community because I've seen black women before that get pretty wound up, but at least in the white, like with white people, I've noticed that white women are not disciplinarians. And if you're a single mom, and in the white community, I've noticed, and I don't want to separate people like that, but I'm just saying, I'm observing this, man. I'm just being honest.
I'm gonna tell you this. I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, the kids are not very behaved by single women.
It's not just that. Like when I was growing up, yeah, you'll probably see a white kid flipping out in the store, like I want that toy, mom, just giving that, and then a black kid get the ass whooped, like you out there. You know what's gonna come, so you're not doing it.
Right.
However, the point is, at this juncture right now, it's across the board because of the diaper situation. The diaper situation got everybody scared of discipline in school. I mean, disciplining kids. I remember we used to get disciplined in school. Parents would come to school and take you in the bathroom and straighten you out, and then you come back in and you're good.
My principal gave a guy a swat one time, and he put blisters on both of his ass cheeks about that big each.
Wow. See, I ain't gonna condone the blistering.
Well, he got him pretty good, but they called him the Golden Bear because he was so big and he had this long blonde hair, and he looked like a bear, dude. He was big. Yeah. You did not want to get messed up by him. Now, yeah, I don't want to put marks on kids, but I think we need like the discipline. We're lacking discipline, you know.
Gotta go back to discipline. And that's the thing with the information. Like when I was 16, if I had a cell phone, son, if I had a cell phone like these, but at the same time, I've noticed the technology has also eroded us. That's the other end of the sword. Like I can recite numbers that I had in the 80s, phone numbers.
Me too.
And I don't know my girl number right now by heart. I gotta look at my phone.
Me neither.
So to know what the sword is, like technology helped us a bit, but still kind of retarded us a little. Yeah,
it did, but I mean, I guess it's a great thing, but like it's putting me and you in contact right now. And,
exactly.
And I think right now, man, honestly, because I didn't need, this is going to be weird to say, but I didn't know you were black, you know, before we started this, because you don't have a profile picture and stuff like that. And yeah. Before I do a podcast, I like to just go off the cuff and get to know people right off the beginning instead of like getting to know them before and come in prepared. Because that way me and you are having a genuine conversation. But when I saw that you were black, I was relieved, and I needed this conversation because I feel just so uptight. I feel so uptight with the way the world is right now. And I saw yesterday, I was at a convenience store, and I saw a black guy that worked at Love's, and he was out there sweeping the around the gas pumps. And I don't know why, I just got this feeling like I wanted to go over there and tell him I loved him, just because I want to break this cycle, man. And it hurts me, dude. It hurts me that America's getting this way. And I just want to love everybody, dude. And I truly mean that, dude. So when I saw you come on, I was like, yes. And then not to mention, you kind of look like Ice Cube too. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to tell people it's Ice Cube. I'm just kidding. You're cooler than Ice Cube anyway. So being genuine, man, I'm glad we're having this conversation, man. And I think this podcast is really going to help bring all of us together from the three separate groups, you know, the cops, the reformed criminals, and the commandos.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to bring us all together, man. And what you're doing, your movement, I didn't know that you were the actual creator of that Ex-Cons Matter group.
Yeah, I try to like stand back because it's like 3 or 4 people, 4 of us that actually post in there.
Yeah.
Daily. So I don't want to be like out front in it. I want people to come in and see it for what it is. That it's like, if you notice, everything is like wide open pretty much, where you except for the membership, but that's just, we just hit you in. But it's kind of open where you come in and you can post your own ideals and things of that nature, and then we debate it. As long as you come in with an open mind, we don't mind anybody to come on there and debate situations. That's the only way we're going to change things.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We got these private clubs. It tends to be directed to that ideology. And if you're not on this page, you're the enemy. Yeah. And that's not how healing works. That's not how it works.
No, we all have to come together, even if we disagree on some things. We all have to come together, man. Now more than ever, it's getting crazy. And like I said, I thought I was going to have a really hard time finding ex-cons to come on here. But your group made it possible for me. So I definitely appreciate that, man.
Out there. It's like what I want to do ultimately. All right, let me go back to the DUI.
Go ahead.
At the time I was in school because when I was locked up in Rawway, I was taking college courses, and they wasn't matriculating, but I was getting accustomed to the college format. You know, I passed my Englishes, so I know if I do them again, I'm gonna fly right through them, the required courses. So what I wanted to do would be alcohol, drug abuse counseling when I first came home. So ironically, I caught the DUI. When I blew in the thing, they said I was 1 point over the limit, 1/10 of a point over the limit, and the cops was making jokes. If you'd had one last beer, you'd have been fine and all that. So what this ended up costing me in Jersey, if you get a DUI,
$5,000,
$1,000 a year for 3 years, you gotta pay. Lost a license for 6 months, and it was like it ended up costing about $4,500. And I was going to school at Camden County College. I lived in Hamilton, so that was like there's no buses going down there, no transportation going down there. So the funny thing is, right when I went to court in December. Remember, this happened in September when school first started. But I still had my license all the way until my court date came up. When I went to court in December, I'm 2 weeks away from finishing my first semester. 2 weeks away. The guy in front of me, because this is where I got the idea from. The guy in front of me had a lawyer. The lawyer told the judge that the guy works this, he does this, and he needs his license to keep his lifestyle rolling, this, that, and that. The judge allowed him to keep his license doing work hours so he can get back and forth to work. But he still, and this was his second DUI. This was this guy's second DUI. So I said, I'm gonna give it a shot. I told him my situation about going to school and everything. And this guy straight denied me, said, no, we're taking your license, remand him now. So I had to give him my license, and I had to drop out of school. I couldn't get back to school. So then now I still owe them $1,000. I still owe my school $1,000. I got to pay back for that incomplete. I was about to pay that, and I'm about to go back to school to try and finish up. I'm trying to get into motivational speaking. But that's another injustice. And I mean, needless to say, the guy was white that was in front of me. He had the lawyer and everything like that. And that's when I started really seeing the differences in the justice. How justice is really not blind. They see in color, definitely.
I didn't want to believe that, man. I didn't want to believe that that was true before this George Floyd thing happened. I didn't want to believe it was true, because a lot of times I think everybody, like I've just been so naive. Part of it was because I was young, but I thought everybody thought like me, and I thought everybody had a heart like me. It's because, like, truly, like, I don't see color. I just see a person. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's the surroundings in the world that make me see colors. It's like whatever's going on, that's what makes me see colors. But then I sit here and talk to you for 30 minutes and I forget that we're different. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But I didn't want to believe that in the justice system there was people that were doing that. But, and like I said, when
it started coming about, when the change started coming about, when they started the DNA evidences, the body cameras when they're on, the cell phone videos, like, this stuff is exposing it. Now, we didn't have that in the 90s and the 80s. So pretty much it can be manipulated however, and then the media spin it however they want to spin it, depending on which media source you're dealing with. So it's like, when I look at things, I look at it openly, and I take what I see to be right and take that, and I discard the BS, because it's usually always something based on truth. It's usually based on truth. And I always believe it's one side, the other side, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. Yeah. That's right. I always believe in that. So yeah, I can exactly see where you're coming from, because if you grew up, not saying in shelter, because white people got poverty too. And it's not like it's just black people with poverty. In fact, it's more white people on welfare than it is on black people. It depends on the situation. I mean, the population difference is also a play in there, will be 13%, and then they have that percentage.
Yeah, I never experienced poverty, but I definitely saw white people where I was at that experienced poverty. Definitely.
Now answer me this. The people, because this is where I'm gonna get to with the human nature thing. The people that you experienced there, did you experience the white people that was in higher situation treating them worse?
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I catch myself sometimes turning my nose to people still, even though like at first if somebody tells me their story something, like I have to catch it and I have to stop it and be like, but the world's humbled me, and I don't know if you believe in God or not, but it seems like every time that I start to judge somebody for something, God will put me through it and make me experience it. So I'm like, okay, I'm stopping that shit. I ain't judging nobody anymore because I don't want to be put through it, because you better believe the minute you start judging somebody, put your belt on, get your pants ready, because you're probably fixing to have to go through it. So I stop that. But yeah, you're to answer your question, you're absolutely right. People treated them differently.
Like in the grand scheme of things, right? I've been asked many times, have I regretted doing that time in my life? Do I regret going to prison for those 12 years? It's like 11 and a half. But like right before that, I just did a year. I just did a year in prison for a drug charge in New York. And I was home for 5 months before I caught this the body. So my answer to that is, I don't regret my time in prison. I do regret the life that I took. I definitely regret that. Like when I was in court, his sister the guy was 23 years old, and his sister spoke and was like, I hope he get a year for every day of my brother's life. And I walk past his room and I don't hear the music playing, and it sends me, and I understand her pain. And I understand it because my nephew was shot and killed while I was locked up. And
have you talked to the family since all this has went on? Have you talked to him and reached out?
I haven't. My mom have. When it first happened, my mom spoke to him and everything. I haven't, because I don't want to rekindle nothing. Because
they might be over it, and then if you talk to him again, then it might bring it up.
If they see me doing something, and they, I'm open to a conversation. If they see me doing something, but I'm not going to initiate. I don't want to initiate because I get that. Like I'm harassing them or anything.
Yeah, you don't want to, like, because they may be over it, and then if you come back in, it might spark something back up in their brain again. I totally get that. Is it something that you still struggle with mentally?
I'm gonna tell you this: when I first was locked up, the first 3 years of my bid, I had the same dream, like maybe intermittently, every other day, maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, where I was in a shootout. I'm hiding behind a garbage can, but I don't have a gun. They shooting at me, and then I end up looking around and somebody shoot me in the back of the head every night. This was my dream for like 3 years. Like any type of way I can end up having this dream. And then it hasn't changed until I actually dealt with it internally, understanding that, I've done something wrong, and coming to grips with that and trying to make amends. I wrote a letter to the family. I just never sent it out.
Oh, really?
I never sent it to them because I didn't have the address. I'm not privy to that information.
Yeah.
And like I can get it, but I'm not going to pursue them. If they want to have a conversation with me, then I'll have a conversation with them. But my point I was getting at is, by me, by me saying I do not regret doing the time, is because if I'd have stayed doing what I was doing, I wouldn't have changed. I probably would either dying in the streets or getting way more time than I ended up getting. So it took me to sit down and sit back and watch how the revolving door of prison in New Jersey, life is 20 years. Life is 20 years, right? I'm looking at people coming in 5 years. I'm still doing my same bit. 3 years, and then he coming back. I'm going out, he coming back for 2 more years. These dudes are doing life in installments. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's their fault because of their choices, but it's also the system fault because they're not trying to change what they put in place.
Yep.
And people don't even understand that it was put in place like that. People don't understand that our community was thriving. Well, I know you know the history of Black Wall Street out there, Greensville, not North Carolina, Oklahoma. Tulsa,
yeah.
Black Tulsa, and how that whole thing transpired.
Wasn't that the Trump said that when the looting starts, the shooting starts? Wasn't that a reference from that?
No, that was from something else. That was from I think a senator in Texas said that. But it was the same ideology. And the other thing was that wasn't the only Black town that was burnt down. Now the science behind that was when they had when they released the slaves and they had the land grab in Oklahoma, when they opened up Oklahoma, that was the Great Migration. It was a lot of people came and you was just grabbing land like, this is mine. This is mine. So Tulsa was broken into two sections. There's a white section, there's a Black section. In the white section of Oklahoma, Black people could come over there and work, but you can't eat there. You can buy stuff, but you got to stay outside. You know, it had the regular Jim Crow rules. So a group of Black people decided this is what we need to do. They started off with a grocery store. Then from the grocery store, they got a laundromat, a movie theater. They built up their own stuff. Then they had people. Now what that did, we took the Black dollar out of the white community, because now they're not spending over there. They had to spend over there before. Yeah. They get treated like garbage. So now they started spending in their own. And then came an instance where it was a Black elevator worker in White Tulsa, and a young white woman was in the elevator. And when they was getting off the elevator, she was screaming and ran off out of the elevator. So they was telling that he was trying to rape her, this, that, another. Eventually, she said that didn't happen like that, that they blew it out. So white people came with their lynch mob and the guns and everything, and Black people came to defend it, this, that, and the other. And then while all that went off, they convinced the Black people to go back to your town, justice would be served, this, that, and the other. And when that happened, the white people got pissed off and they went and destroyed the town. They supposed to have dropped bombs on the town and destroyed it. But this is not the only town that this happened to. This is like right after the Great Depression. This happens like right after. I think it was 1921, somewhere around there. So it's like right during that time when it was going down. And I know it happened in Chicago. I know it happened in Atlanta. And it happened in a few different predominant Black places where they was like, all right, well, if you don't want to have theirs, we'll have ours. So that's what gives us the mentality where we're like, it don't matter anyway. They're gonna burn our shit up anyway. You know, it's like that's how it goes.
I think we do, like you brought something up and this happens quite a bit, but like I've seen that before where women will report false rapes. It happens quite a bit, and but then they don't get in trouble for it. No, I also think that's something that we should.
It was programmed with that from the movie Birth of a Nation, the first one that was put out by the Klan. That was the biggest box seller of its time at the time. It was put out by the Klan called The Birth of a Nation, and it was basically saying it was picturing Black people as we wanted to rape white women and this, that. So that fear was instilled in them from there, and other things going on, like Reefer Madness. You ever heard of that movie?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of that one.
The czar, Harry Asinger, he was a drug czar in America, and he made marijuana illegal. And they put a movie out saying if your white woman smokes marijuana, she's going to want to have sex with a Black man. Like, yeah, I'm dead serious. I look this stuff up. This stuff is for real. And these things set things in motion. Same way in our community, where let's get this one out the way. When they talk about Black on Black crime, it's pretty much no difference than white on white crime or Asian on Asian crime. You pretty much kill who's around. That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah, whoever your enemy is, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. It's like people that's around you, that's pretty much, I'm around a bunch of Black people. If I end up killing somebody, and most likely it'd be a Black person. Whereas though white people don't kill, white people kill white people more than they kill anybody else also.
Yeah, because that's who we're hanging out with, yeah.
And back in slavery times, there's a story about a guy named Willie Lynch. And Willie Lynch, the slave masters came over to ask him, he was a horse breaker. And he was asking him how to break the slaves. And what he did was took the biggest, blackest, John Coffey's looking guy on a plantation and beat him within inches of his life in front of everybody. So the next thing he did, they separate the men from the women, the older people from the younger people, the lighter skinned people went into the big house, where the darker skinned people went into the fields, and they created division within ourselves. He said, this is how you keep you break a slave and you keep them in check. So now if you got the mothers raising the boys and they just seen what happened to John Coffey, they're going to teach their boys to be more submissive, to not anger master, or you're going to end up like John Coffey. If you do it to him, he'll do it to you. So then it's like the older people being separated from younger people, now you're broken off in your history. You don't know what your history is. Remember, they couldn't read back then, so they was told that you have to follow certain things, or they spoke to them and everything. Even doing that, they still stayed married and they still stayed a family unit. And then you had the light skin and dark skin divide, because the light skinned people was living better than the people in the field. And that still goes on today. Today, we still I call it social conditioning. We were social conditioned to hate each other, basically. Yeah. To point that out. Because I'm not going to say that we got to work on our own community also. It's definitely we got to work on our own community also. Like the projects. If you look at how the projects are set up, they look exactly like prisons. It's like they got the same architecture. So when you go to prison, you think you're at home. It's bananas. It's like the older heads and the younger heads, they don't listen to each other right now. It's the same things going on. It's still a divide between light-skinned blacks and dark-skinned blacks. The divide is still there. So we got to break down that. It's a lot of stuff that's been ingrained within these years from slavery and up, from slavery to Jim Crow to mass incarceration to all these different things. And now it's just coming to a head because it's information getting out there. It's all coming to a head. So, and the other thing is a lot of people in our community, a lot of people want to disagree with me with this. They said that we got to do it ourselves. We can't have white people involved in the movement. Well, what I'm seeing now, we're having white people involved in the movement. They starting to understand where the situations come from. And I think Malcolm X started seeing that when he went to Mecca, and he seen that it was white people that was praying to Allah in Mecca, and he came back. That's where he got into a rift with the Nation of Islam. And also Martin Luther King, he was another one. He was turning around and saying this nonviolence thing keep getting ate up by dogs, and that's right around the time he got killed when he started changing his ideology. Yep. From nonviolence to we got to make a change. We can't just keep getting killed out here. Yeah. Because that was like way worse than what's going on now. Because if they had film, well, they do have film, but if they had cameras like that out there, unedited film like that, it'd be bananas what was happening out there. It's bringing the hoses and the dogs out for people that wasn't even looting.
Well, yeah, that's why I saw that documentary and actually saw video evidence of how the police were treating black people, and it made me just I didn't realize it was that bad. And like I said, that's why I started realizing that, okay, like I know my pride and my ego tells me that, well, as a cop, because I'm not a cop anymore, but at the time that I was thinking, as my ego, my pride tells me, I'm the cop, you're the person that has to listen to me. I don't owe you shit. Get in the damn car and do what I say, or do what I say. That's but how we take each other. We gotta kill that because of what our parents did, we owe it to the black community to earn their trust. And whatever you have to do, don't get me wrong. I still think if somebody commits a crime or anything else like that, we've got to be fair, but you got to be fair. Like even in the black community, whenever I was a police officer, I would still arrest black people if they committed a crime, but I would be 100% fair. If I arrested the black guy for driving under the influence, you better believe I'm going to arrest the city council member's daughter too. And I'm going to arrest the doctor's daughter, and I'm going to arrest everybody else or doctor or the radio guy. Anybody else in town, I'm arresting everybody for it. You see what I'm saying? And you've got to be fair like that. And the cops have to be fair. I'm not saying don't make arrests. I'm saying be fair and you owe it to the black community to earn their trust. You owe it to them.
You were just like, yeah, that's exactly the way you explained how you felt. That's exactly how we blanket most cops until we see the interaction. Like sometimes you get a cop that might catch you with you might have been a few days over top of your registration because you was working and you couldn't get to go get it done, and they'd be like, all right, get it done, but if I catch you again, I'm gonna hit you. I can respect that. I can respect that. And you know that we got struggles the same way. I can respect that. But then you got the other ones. They wouldn't care if it was like, you got to do it right now. If you're wrong, you're wrong. We're going to get you out of there. Like, and then the next guy come and he ain't had insurance in 5 years and you let him go. Like what is this? It's like the inequality is just how you said. So we go into these encounters looking at that. Like for instance, for years, when I see a cop get behind me, whether he got his lights on or not, I stay in the rearview mirror. Is he gonna turn his lights on?
Shit, I do that.
Is he pull me over? Yeah, but it's like, but you don't have to worry about if you're going home after this incident.
No.
You don't have to worry about if I'm gonna make it back to my kids. The first I'm doing is calling my wife. Like, listen, I'm in a situation. I'm getting pulled over. I'm letting you know.
Let me ask you a question, because you're a father, right? And and your kids are 100% black, or are they half black, half white?
Yeah,
they're 100% black. I'm sitting here thinking what I would do if I was a black man and I had black kids in this current situation. And what do you tell them, man? Do you tell them? I'm thinking I would just tell my kids to be like, just do what they say, and if it's wrong, we'll figure it out later. I think that's what I would say, because I don't want my kids getting hurt. You've got to be terrified to have your kids out there.
My fiance, her son is 16. He's about to get his license, right?
Oof, yeah.
So he's about to start driving, and he teetering. He's on one side. He's not hustling or doing nothing like that, but he's 16. You know, he's smelling himself, 16-year-old. And I try to tell him, I sit and watch film with him, and I try to speak to him about it. And I'm like, this is how certain things go. And I tell him to gauge, to try and peep out the situation. Watch the cop's body language. Mm-hmm. Watch how they approach you. If he approach you with his gun on his thing, he might be scared, or he might be a dickhead, like you said. It could be either one. So you gotta try to stay civil with it, like you said. But sometimes it don't work out that way either way. Sometimes it don't work out that way. But I try to tell them not to get irate. Know your rights. No, you do not have to step out the car and have your car searched if you don't want it to. You gotta tell them no. You don't have to. They can look inside your car. They can put the mirror up and see if anything in plain view. You know, that's it. But all that going in the trunk, if I don't want you in my trunk, you're not going to guilt me to saying, well, if I get the dogs, it'll be fine. So we'll go get the dogs.
Yeah, if a cop's asking you for consent to search, that means that you're free to go. Exactly. One of the rules of when I was a cop, one of the rules that I had to make sure I was following was that whenever I pulled you over and I asked for consent to search, if I didn't have probable cause to search the car, if I asked for consent to search, then you had to know that you were free to go at any time, that this was a consensual encounter. And if you told me no, then I would have to leave then. And I have seen police officers before that would continue the interaction before, and it's like, hey man, you're bumping on the line here. You're bumping on the line. Like if they say no, like they could literally drive away from you right now, and if they run over your foot, there's
like I say,
what are you doing?
For the average officer, not saying the ones that's corrupt or whatever, the average officer, if they stop with the quotas, that I say a good 50% of those encounters won't happen.
Are there quotas in New York or in Philadelphia?
Yeah, in Jersey, yeah, it's quotas.
Quotas are illegal in Oklahoma. It's in law. Quotas are illegal. But I'm not saying that there aren't people pressuring people to write tickets, because I'm sure that's a thing. You see what I'm saying? I'm sure people are pressuring to write tickets, but if the chief of police comes up to me and says, I want you to go write 10 tickets for speeding today, that's illegal. He can't do that.
I know in Jersey with the drug situation, it was a bonus to find drugs because the cops was confiscating the vehicle. So I got an $80,000 Cadillac or whatever, and you didn't found a joint in the car, or you didn't found some crack in the car. That's a ward of the state. Like they end up auctioning that off, and the cops get first dibs. So It was like that was an incentive to get this guy. That was an incentive to pull over a guy with a nice car. He could be a lawyer, it didn't matter. But if you found something, it was an incentive. And then that was outlawed, and I think it just got repealed. I think it was outlawed and got repealed on the federal level.
For possession, for simple possession of drugs in Oklahoma, every drug's a misdemeanor now.
Is it?
In Oklahoma, every drug for simple possession, every single drug is a misdemeanor.
You know, another thing people don't know, every drug that's illegal right now was legal at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
They actually sold heroin in Macy's back in the day. You know who created heroin? Bear Aspirin. They're the creator of the formula to turn the opium into heroin.
Really?
You can go to Macy's, buy heroin and the wrap-ups and everything in the store. But then when people started seeing the effects of heroin, that withdrawal effect, and people not being able to maintain life, that's when they made it illegal. But all drugs was pretty much legal. A lot of drugs came under, they made it illegal, and then they started making laws for political gain and things of that nature. So I understand what you're saying now, why Oklahoma that's trailblazing to make it misdemeanors. Like even out here, they decriminalized marijuana. The use of marijuana has been decriminalized. If you get caught marijuana, you get a couple dollar fine, and they let you on your way as long as it's under 50 grams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like right now in Oklahoma, you could have, as long as you're under trafficking amounts, which I can't tell you what trafficking amounts are right now because they've changed them since I've been out. But if like you could have heroin in your pocket right now in Oklahoma, and if you get caught with it, you get a traffic ticket and you go home.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you gotta deal with it.
Well, I mean, like, dude, and like I said, I'll probably lose a lot for all my law enforcement buddies. I'm sorry, but I'm going to be honest on this podcast, man. And I think we lost the war on drugs, man. And I think we need to reallocate resources on, like, if someone breaks into your house right now and steals a bunch of stuff, we need to be focusing on that more than the guy that's carrying a bag of heroin in his pocket right now. You know what I mean? Like the crimes that have an actual victim on the report, your name, James Parrish got his house broken into. We need to send them down the river. You see what I'm saying? But as far as drugs go, man, I think we lost the war on drugs.
It's like they created the situation and then don't want to be held accountable for it when it's time to clean it up.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to us.
Hey, so on your hat, is that your logo?
Yeah, it's my logo.
Hey, put it up to the camera. Let me see it.
I'll give you a bell. Matter of fact, I got a few logos. My kids got logos. This is my personal logo.
What is that?
Third eye. It's 3 eyes.
Oh, okay. What does that represent?
Third eye is representing a awakening of your subconscious. To give you a thing about how, like, people, especially Black people, we have a rhythm that we are connected to with ourselves, our inner consciousness, and it's dormant. All right, let me give you an instance. In the 60s, in the 60s and 70s, the music that was accustomed with the protests and everything was like, I'm Black and I'm proud, and it was all types of self-building music, and that's what they was feeding off of with those movements. And then came the 80s and the 90s, where the drugs and stuff, the drug culture came out. They were still, our rap music was about the struggle and how, you know, like Carol's son said, you know, I got beans, rice, and bread on my shelf. That's it. you know, and I make a G a week, F school, you know, that was talking about the struggle. And then you get to the 2000s, the music turned into glorifying the crimes. Where there in the 80s, we had self-destruction and music of that nature. This is the music that was coming on the radio, that was getting internalized by the kids, and the rhythm was getting accepted. And now it's like it's all trash music on the radio. Yeah. In my opinion, some people don't think it's trash. Like your stations don't have this type of music that like self-condemns each other and everything. Like I think, but it's freedom of speech. That's another double issue. We got freedom of speech, so we got to let it out. But if we control our own music, then it'd be easier because there's no positive music on the radio. If I want to hear positive music, I got to YouTube. I got to go digging in somebody's SoundCloud to find the positive music. Now, some good music. I be talking to the young kids out here, and I live in an area where a girl just died, like right there a month ago. Got shot in the face right there in front of my house, and my family seen it. Now, my family is from Broadway, so they're not used to seeing it. I was born in a spot where this was an everyday thing also. So they're bugging about it. I'm trying to move now to get out of here. But I don't want to go too far from the struggle. I want them to understand it, but I don't want them to be victims of it, you know? And what I'm saying is the music kind of messed the kids up. It's like we need to have some positive music back punching out. And I've seen some starting to get creative. And like with the Black Lives Matters movement, I'm seeing a lot of people starting to come with more pride in yourself. You know what I mean? We having more self-pride, not looking like we're inferiors and stuff like that. And that's going to build the generations to come. Another thing is the situation with the mixes, which you alluded to before, the mixed races. They're on pace to be the majority actually in America. My kids are mixed. If you look at the birth rates, where white birth rates are dropping, this is why the abortion thing is a big issue with Republicans, because the birth rates are dropping, and we still have high birth rates regardless of the drugs and whatever and situation. And then there's nowhere you can go where you're not going to see a black guy and a white girl, or a white guy and a black girl. It's just what it is. You look at the Stephen Currys, you look at the Klay Thompsons and these people, that's because if a black guy and a white guy a black guy and a white girl get together, or a white girl and a black guy get together, most likely that white person is in a higher echelon where the black person may be middle class. So those kids don't have the same problems as my kids have. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not that many mixed stuff going on around here. It's some, but in the middle class, that's where it's thriving. And those are going to be our future leaders. Yep. And that might be the thing, because if you look at it as far as numbers, they might be the dominant, the majority, say in 50, 60 years. Because they already said, like in California, I think they said white people should be the minority in another 10 years or so. Yeah, 10 years ago, I read that because the average white people only have 2 to 3 kids per family. I think it's 2 or something like that. And then other races is like 8. Yeah. So in 20 years from that time, which is just what you said, 20 years from that time that I saw that we would be the minority. And it's been 10 years ago, and you just said 10 years from now. So I'm not doubting it. But who cares? Who cares? Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. The thing is that it's going to be a situation where, like, all right, your kids, what do they put on their thing? Do they put African American? Oh, so I wanted to clarify that, but they're not African American. Okay. They're American Indian. Okay. Yeah, American Indian. Yeah, Native American. I don't like American Indian because this was not India. Okay. Yeah, Native American. They're from the Kiowa tribe, but they're mixed, and you could clearly tell they're mixed. So. Oh yeah, because you got Indian reserves in Oklahoma, heavy. Oh yeah. Yeah. That was the other part. That was the other third when they opened it up. They said Native Americans have this space, and then Oklahoma was broke up, and it was the land grab, and everybody was getting land. Like these acres are mine. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. But yeah. So my point with the mixing, for a black person and a white person that got a child together, what do they child put, black or white? Who do they identify with? See, that's going to be the situation. Who are you identifying with? Are you identifying with your mother, or are you identifying with your father? Are you identifying with the African American? I don't like that term neither. But if you're identifying with black folks, or you identifying with the white folks? You know what I mean? That's going to be a situation too. And I know I spoke to people that's mixed. I got people who's mixed in my family. Like my great grandmother was white. She was an Italian woman. And I understand that they gotta side with somebody. And if you're in that middle class community, your friends might be mixed on both sides. And it's just a movie out right now I just seen on Netflix that addresses that situation with a girl that's growing up and she got a mixed school and she's having a problem figuring out who she identifies with. And like you said, it should all be one.
I hope we could just I hope we could teach our kids to just we can all be one, man. Because my kids came home from school too. My oldest daughter, she came home from school one time and she was like, Dad, this girl was getting made fun of today at school because of the color of her skin. And I was like, what? And she's like, isn't that silly? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, there's people that there's people that's petty like that out there. And I have to teach them that, I have to teach them now about racism. And it's kids are not born racist.
Nope. Not. If you put a white 4-year-old and a black 4-year-old in a playground, they're going to enjoy themselves.
Yep.
They're not going to understand the skin. They might notice it visually, but it's not going to be a thing in here that's like, you're different than me. Nope. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to make fun because you're dark, or I'm going to make fun because you're white. But it's not going to be naturally that thing there. Kids are kids. Now, what they listen to the parents' conversations, that help groom their situation. You know what I mean? It's like if your parents drop the N-bomb all the time, then you're gonna end up dropping the N-bomb. Like, it's gonna happen. That's what happens. It's like, but as that's getting filtered out, then it's different. It's not as much racism as it was before, but it's still here. That's the whole thing.
Obviously, yeah.
Get over it and all of this other stuff. Well, help me get over it.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to get over it, because I need you to get under it, actually. I need you to understand this plight so we can come to some common ground.
Yep.
And meet in the middle and see that, I understand you didn't own slaves, or your grandfather didn't own slaves, but the practice through legislation was still put in place to keep.
But like I said, our parents were still mistreating African Americans, or you say you didn't like that black. Our parents, so we owe it to work on changing that. We owe it to each other to work on doing something to change whatever it is. And right now, I feel like I'm doing my part and you're doing your part by us getting together and showing that we could still show love to each other and be from not only are we separate races, but we're also from two completely different backgrounds as well. And we're sitting here having a awesome conversation. You see what I'm saying?
I'm going to tell you why I don't like the term African American.
Okay.
When we started off, they was calling us slave, nigger, or Negro. And then it went to, from Negro, it went to black. And then in the 80s, I think Jesse Jackson coined the phrase African American. So what you're telling me is that every black person in America is an African American. Now, I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to put it together to make it feel better and everything, but it's not true, because people of color was already here when they got here. Like you say, your kids, you can literally see that they're not just white. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like people was here. Now, the slave trade that was portrayed, it wasn't as big as they said from Africa, because why would you travel on a boat all the way to Africa? It take 6 months to get there, and then 6 months back, lose half of your product, on because they dying and stuff like that. They're sick and the way they was traveling, and they just keep doing it.
Yep.
When you got the Caribbeans that was right there where you can get them from, and then it was already black folk here, and it's proof of that it was already here. So how can you blanket everybody to be African Americans? Always got a problem with the white and the black, and that's not a race. It's not a nationality, it's a color.
Yeah, that's true. I've never thought about that, because if a black person doesn't have African descent, why would you even say that?
Let's ask this question also. A person born in South Africa, right? They move to America and get dual citizenship, right? A white person. And he moved to America and get dual citizenship. He's an African American.
Yeah.
He's not going to mark that. He's not going to mark that down.
I would. Screw it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the average one is not going to mark that down, because that's going, when you send an application and you got African American on it, you might get discriminated against and so forth and so on. So that's why I don't like the term. Like, we need our own nationality. We don't have a nationality. That's why they say we don't. And then the other thing is, if they call us American as we was already here, because most of us was already here, in my opinion. I can't prove it as of yet, but as I'm learning, this is what I'm coming up with. But that takes away for us to get reparations or type of land product. That's why we didn't get the 48 and the mule, because we really don't have a nationality. We can't say that we can claim this land that we was here. As far as the Indians, they had, well, not the Indians, the Native Americans, because they had to give them property after they basically almost annihilated.
Yep.
They had to. And then you got the Black Seminoles from Florida. You got races of Black Native Americans that was already here.
No kidding.
In Chicago, the Blackfoots, they're naturally dark skinned or darker skin. You know what I mean?
You're making me realize during the course of this conversation that I need to read more.
That 12 years did for me. I was a book monster.
Yeah, I could tell you read a lot, dude. You know your shit for sure.
I'm trying to learn. And it's like I said, with the stuff you read, you have to look for the inconsistencies. Because some of the stuff that I read both sides. I read Confederate books, and then I understand where they coming from with certain things. Like, for instance, they lost. Where else do you get participation trophies for losing in like these Confederate statues that they taken down? You lost.
Yeah, well, and here's my deal. Like, whenever I was 20 years old, I worked with a black guy named Willie, and he would try to get me to call him the N-word all the time. He would say, "Just call me."
Get you to call him that?
Huh?
He was trying to get you to call him that?
Yeah, because we were like best friends. You know, and he was trying to get me to call. He's like, "Man, we're friends. It's cool." And I never would, because I just don't see the purpose in it. And if I thought, even if it didn't bother him, somebody else might hear it and it may bother them. You see what I'm saying?
And I'm gonna tell you a thing about us. We tend to take things that's negatively aimed at us and turn it into a positive. Not that I'm condoning the use of the N-word.
Yeah.
For everybody or anything, but that's what we tend to do. Like,
well, you want to take the stigma off of it. If you're best friends with the white guy, you want to take the stigma off of it, because he wanted to show me that our races didn't mean anything, you know. So you got to take that sting off of it. But I was going to bring that around to the point of the Confederate flags and the Confederate statues and stuff like that. If it hurts people's feelings, what's the point of having them up? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Let's now, I don't want to go too overboard and just start taking down everything in America. You see what I'm saying? But like the Confederate stuff, like, what's the purpose of it, man? That was like 400 years ago, wasn't it? Or 500 years ago. I mean, who gives a shit? Let's move on.
And then it's like the message of the person, like, it was wrong. So you still want to promote it, and it's bananas. However, I don't know. The country is coming full circle right now, in my opinion.
I think so. I think it's a good thing.
I turn on my Xbox and it's saying we support Black Lives Matter. I go to I go to Amazon. We support Black Lives Matter, and I'm starting to see that more people is getting educated that it's not just about rioting and looting and all this stuff and the violence. That it's just we're trying to promote change. We're trying to get everybody to see what's been happening and how we can change the stuff. And like for instance, the little tug of war that's going on in Washington, they put Black Lives Matter on the street, the mayor. So now they're getting sued. So I want to see how this ends out. I want to see what part of the Constitution is going to be either it's going to respect it or not, where this judge is going to come from on that situation. Will it be upheld? Because they also just did my street in my hometown, Plainfield. They just did it in front of City Hall. They put the same thing there. And then I just read something where I live at now in Trenton, New Jersey. One of my friends, she worked for the mayor department. She was asking, what slogan should we put in front of City Hall other than Black Lives Matter? What other slogan? Because we want to be different than everybody else. Hey, give me a second, bro. About 5-10 minutes. Yes, some more people. We can sit and beat it up and make shirts and everything, and I like your design. But yeah, getting back to what I was saying, they trying to figure out. So I think this is going to be a thing. So if they win the suit, will the suit continue all over? I think that's the next front.
Case law, change case law.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think we should wrap it up. But when I wrap it up, I want you to stay on. I want to talk for for a couple minutes after we stop recording. Okay. But first, before we go, tell people where they can get a hold of you and what like, is that your company? That logo, is it a company or?
Yeah, I got a website, www.thirdeye-woke at that's .com. It's www.
Okay.
I'll send it to you so you can put it up.
Yeah. So what you do, send it to me, and then I'll edit it into this part of the conversation.
All right, cool.
I'll edit the website into it to where people could see it. And so you're available for motivational speaking if people want to get a hold of you and stuff like that, because man, I could tell you know your shit and you're a lot of fun to talk to, man. And I'm inspired. I'm going to view the world a lot differently now because of our conversation.
Definitely a great conversation. I learned just as much from you as you learned from me. I'm supposed
so nothing but love coming from me, brother. Nothing but love. And thank you.
Same here.
You changed my outlook on this whole thing, and I'm going to go out with a little more positivity today. So thanks everybody for listening, and thanks for joining us. And I'm 10-7 till next week.
Cops, criminals, commandos. Cops, they serve and protect. Criminals, try to earn their respect. Commandos, strike when opposition is a threat to our seas. Govern the country against foreign enemies. First episode was a cop and the criminal. Now we got commandos like 5-star generals. Come to share their war stories from the streets to the pen, all the way to overseas. Band of brothers on 3 separate paths. Bring them all together, now we got a podcast.